practice the transition because I want the person on the bottom who is learning the escape, I want you to have it programmed into your mind what it feels like when somebody starts to move into the position. I want you to feel what that feels like so your brain gets an early alert and you can start the escape early, okay? So look again. He starts with the frame across my neck, he bridges, he wins the top side underhook. Now right away, again, if I need to shift my leg out of the way to pick up his elbow, I will. Elbow first, I'm gonna pick that elbow up off the mat. Once I know it's off the mat and secure, then I can start to drive my weight into him. Then I can start to think about hugging the head and flattening him back out. Now to secure this position, we're gonna look at a couple things. Again, priority number one for me is always making sure his elbow is as high off the mat as possible. And I'm also gonna think about shelving it on top of my hip and this leg closer to his head. I want it up on that shelf. This hand is gonna grab inside my thigh, and I can use that almost like a ratchet strap to tighten this position down even more and even more. So I can kind of like walk my hand down my thigh, and I can also use my leg as a lever to influence how tight that is. One leg is kicked facing the same direction as his head. The other leg is going to be splayed 90 degrees. I'm going to have my foot on the mat. Now to be really heavy in this position, in this case right now I'm not, my hip is just resting on the mat, I would pull the arm off the mat, close my elbow, close my other elbow, which you guys can't really see, and then I would drive my weight sideways into my partner. Okay, I would not have my hip bearing weight on the mat. He's going to be bearing all my weight. So I'm going to do this. Can I just real quick? So look at the visual difference. Okay, from here, incorrect, to here, correct. It looks almost identical. Okay, but all I'm doing is just getting my weight off that hip and driving it sideways into his ribcage. Okay. Start with the worst case scenario thing. He's actually going to fully lock it in. I'm going to let him fully lock it in before I even move. Okay? So look, a couple no-nos right away. Flat on your back, no good. Okay? So even if the person's really flattened you out, just do an initial bridge just to get on your side. Okay? So bump your hips, displace the person's weight, and then I want you on your side. Okay? And you can use this outside foot to sort of influence that angle with a little bit of hip escape motion. Okay? Now once I get to this spot again, priority number one for this first escape is this elbow has got to find the mat. It's got to get off this shelf. Okay? So look at this hand here. It's not going to do nothing. I'm not going to lock my hands together, at least not yet. I'm going to take this hand, I'm going to grab either the back of his collar, the fabric on his shoulder, or any spot where I feel like I'm going to be able to reliably punch over his head. Okay? I don't want to try to push him off to the side. It's not my goal. I want to take his head and I want to try to project it to the floor. Okay? At the same time I'm doing that, I'm going to run my hips close. So I've got my grip, I run my hips close. I'm going to bridge into him. Why am I running my hips close? Because if I bridge from here, he's not really affected by it the same way as if I run my hips and connect them to his, and then I bridge, he's going to move a lot more. So it's going to be a punch, it's going to be a bridge. I'm going to try to turn my chest to face the mat, and then I'm going to try to free my elbow even just a few inches from his grasp. I'm just going to go from here to here. Now I got about an inch of progress there. What people do most of the time now is they give up and they flatten out, okay? That's double down time, okay? So I run close, I bridge, elbow, I run close again, I bridge, I pull my elbow again. Now my elbow's on the floor under my rib cage. I'm essentially out now, okay? Most people, if they don't have a lot of experience, he'll just grab a headlock here. I'm gonna use my foot to just effortlessly turn my hip over. I get to both knees. I pull my hand out, I use it as a base. Strong people crank your neck a little bit from here. It's not pleasant, but you're not going to pass out from it. So I'm going to use my base on the floor. I'm going to shift this hand all the way to his shoulder, and grab his shoulder fabric. I'm going to walk out and pull him to the mat. So once again, we'll enter the position. I'm going to bridge and get the underhook. I'm going to give him the chance to pick the elbow up, grab my head, and sit through. So I know what it feels like. Collar grip or shoulder grip, whichever one you prefer, but you need to be able to create a strong punch overhead. Run your hips close. This is going to be mostly hips. This is secondary, but it's going to help a little bit. So strong bridge, strong punch. Look toward the floor and try to turn your chest. Pull your elbow just a little bit. If it doesn't go out, if you can't free it, do not lay back down. Instead, it doesn't free, run close, bridge again, and pull your elbow. Double down on your run and your bridge. Now from here, I base, which makes it easy for me to turn my hip over. Now realistically, from this position, most good grapplers are not going to put me in a headlock he's going to throw a whizzer in on this side here, and we're either going to wrestle up or wrestle sideways. That's the reality of going with somebody who knows what they're doing. Okay? So look, here's where you should actually do this. So bridge, get my underhook. That is when I should be doing it, okay? My brain needs to realize that that hold is coming, and before it's fully locked in, I do all the things I just showed you guys, right? I run my hips, I push and bridge. He doesn't want to let go of my arm, so his head goes to the mat. But look at the space under his hip now. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to lock my hands together. And what people poorly execute in this position is they lock their hands and they try to rip the person over the far side. That can work if I'm stronger and he's smaller, okay? But what I want to do is I want to use proper body position. So I bridge. There's a momentary space under his hips. I lock my hands together. I take this part of my hip bone and I make sure that I run and I shelf it under his hip, okay? So just like the tip of a shovel, I want to get that all the way under the rock. And now once it's under, now I can start to twist my body, running my hips under his hips, and I can effortlessly guide him over the far side. Okay? But there's a very simple way to look at this without a partner, real quick. If his hips are on this line here, I put my hands together, look, my hips are here, his hips are here. If I try to do this, I'll have no success. So what I need to do in that moment is I bridge, I put my hands together, I shovel my hips under his hips. So now my hips are right on that line. Okay. So we're going to go for escape number one. I'm going to let my partner post their head on the mat. My hands go together. Remember, hips under hips. I'm going to get under his hips. And now from this position, I can cinch his body tight to mine. I can start to execute my hip shovel and my roll over the far side. There's a third escape in this position where if you're going between escape number one and escape number two, and at some point either his head gets very high or his head gets very high and this comes out from the underhook position and gets to the top position, if you can get this hand that's near his legs on the jaw first and then wrap this one across it to secure the grip. You don't want to do it in reverse order. You want to be here. So look, this is vulnerable because it's near the legs. This goes on the face first, under the jaw. This hand is going to wrap. My fingers are going to curl around the outside of my palm, and it locks it into place. So if he tries to force this arm to the mat, it's locked in under my other hand. If I reverse the order, and he's pretty strong, he can force it down. This is not good. So I want to be here instead. So this leg wrap it's an okay escape in combination with other escapes, but I always show it last because I feel like in terms of priority, that's kind of where it is. But sometimes between escape one, escape two, the head comes up. I have an opportunity to come to this position here. I'll take advantage of that. I'm going to press his head up toward the ceiling as far as possible. I'm going to throw this leg over his head. But if I try to do this while I'm flat on my back, it requires like a tremendous amount of flexibility. Instead of being flat on my back, I'm going to angle out to the side, and now this becomes much easier to do. Whereas if I try to do it flat, maybe I could get there, but it's tough. From here to here is easy. Back leg wraps over the face. I force him down. Watch my right foot over here. As I force him down with this leg, the other leg swims out the bottom, and I turn my hip over. Okay. So we find ourselves chaining between escape one, escape two, escape one, escape two. The head gets high. Now I go for frame number one. I don't think I can pull this one out, but it's not required. Okay, I only need one moment where his head is high and I stiff arm his jaw, hips out to the side, and wrap one leg around his head. Then I can sit here.